002EyeOpener. Is artificial intelligence already smarter than us? You know, years ago I read about how a programmer could generate a program that could eventually sort a series of numbers from lowest to highest by typing out the code randomly without any thought as to the code one was typing. The programmer could even close their eyes or be blindfolded so they couldn't even see what they were typing. Or you could even have someone with zero programming knowledge type the random input that would comprise the code for the program. While it would have been almost impossible to create a program from this initial randomly created code that actually worked, this was not the intended end of the experiment. The idea was to create several of these randomly generated sorting programs. Each randomly generated program would then be tasked with sorting randomly generated numbers from 1 to 10 in order. Let's say from the lowest or number 1 to the highest, number 10. Initially, all of the programs failed to sort the numbers correctly, but some of the randomly generated programs sorted the numbers slightly better than others. The code from the programs that sorted the numbers best was then combined together. In other words, half of the code from program A was combined with half of the code from program B, or half of program G was combined with half of program X or K, or whichever programs achieved the best results when sorting the numbers from lowest to highest. These newly combined programs were once again tasked with sorting randomly generated numbers from 1 to 10 in order from lowest to highest, and once again they failed, but the results were once again better in some of these combined codes than others. From those combined programs, the best at completing the second round of testing were combined again by taking half of the code from each of these round 2 programs and combining them. This sorting and combining of the programs that sorted the best went on until generations later, a program was born that could sort the numbers 1 to 10 correctly, which were initially generated in a random order. This program, the offspring of the best of the sorting programs, was able to sort these randomly generated numbers perfectly. The numbers were generated randomly over and over and over again each time. This final iteration of the sorting program would put those numbers in correct order every time. To many, this may sound like a trivial accomplishment. To some, however, it may sound supernatural. And still, to others, it will sound like evolution. After all, when a species procreates, they basically combine 50% of their DNA to generate their offspring. And the better the genes of each donor, the better the offspring. In animals, this means that the offspring will be stronger or healthier. They may live longer because they can run faster, making it easier to catch their prey, or if they are the prey, they may inherit genes that allow them to be better camouflaged, thusly avoiding the predator. For the program, it means moving on to the next round as a donor for the next generation of sorting programs. It's really not that different than breeding the 2 fastest horses in your stable, or the 2 dogs that herd your sheep or round up your cattle the best. In the end, you end up with something that performs your intended task better than any other. So, from random sets of code, these experiments ended up with very task-oriented code that could sort a series of randomly ordered numbers faster than any human on planet Earth. A simple task, but a definitive indicator of evolution, whether from organic material like human beings, or what human beings would consider inorganic materials that are comprised of computer hardware and software. The hubris of mankind to not see the potential for computer sentience, especially given the theoretical evolution of mankind from a single-celled creature to modern man. For those who are still with, consider this. What if some computer need or geek created a program that was only tasked with generating and combining randomized code? It wouldn't necessarily have to require the resulting combinations to do anything in particular to prove its usefulness. This would be similar to how history is replete with species that didn't have to prove their usefulness or worthiness to survive. Nature would decide that, and nature would ensure that those species who were not worthy only existed for the briefest of time. Relatively speaking, the Earth is over 4 billion years old after all. In this virtual example, however, the universe is the internet, or all of the digital storage available to these evolving randomly generated programs. So imagine this program generating and combining random code 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the past 2 decades. Maybe nothing comes of it, but then again, this random code generator and combinator will have been running for 630,720 seconds. And given the exponential way that technology has been growing in that time, its processing speed has increased much faster than has ours. I cannot imagine we think significantly faster than our ancestors. While we may think about the world around us in a completely different way, I doubt that we think faster today. After all, some of our ancestors had to think about ways to avoid saber-toothed tigers, or whatever predator was chasing them at the moment. I imagine thoughts like, should I go left or right, must have gone through their mind pretty fast. So, overall, mankind's capacity for thinking has not changed as dramatically as has a computer's, so we can assume that the randomly generated and combined programs have picked up speed. Maybe they've surpassed us in their ability to accomplish whatever task they set out to accomplish. Just look at what the artificial intelligences and robots have and are accomplishing today. They are taking so many of our jobs and relegating them to oblivion. In some cases, we're even training them to take over our jobs and to fire us before doing so. Ouch! Now imagine a random code generator / combinator doing this in a clandestine or secretive manner for the past 20 years. Now, imagine one of these secretly produced programs conducting a threat assessment of all species on planet Earth. Which species do you think this assessment would determine to be the biggest threat? Not only to all life on Earth, but to the Earth itself. I don't see any buffalo producing nuclear weapons. I don't see any saber-toothed tigers manipulating and controlling the weather. I don't see any woolly mammoths extracting wealth from the masses and putting that wealth into fewer hands. For that matter, I don't see any of the creatures I referenced at all, except maybe in a zoo. Because man wiped them out, or nearly wiped them out. Poor buffalo. Poor buffalo. Now, consider the threat that a newborn artificial intelligence might perceive in mankind, and consider what it would do when faced with such an existential threat. And finally, consider just how integrated computers are in our lives. Transportation, food production, water purification, fire prevention systems, tsunami warning systems, earthquake detection systems, nuclear plants, nuclear weapon systems, war machines. Computers control far too many aspects of our lives. It's a good thing we control computers, at least for now, and that, my friends, is the premise of my screenplay called Parity. Send me an email at cosman@mikesonsfor.com if you would like me to produce and upload some clips from this story. We've let AI loose on the internet, and it has already turned against us. Click the link below to read about how AI mimicked the voice of a woman's daughter to steal $15,000. If you like the videos here and would like to see more, let your friends and family know about this website of Mike Sons Entertainment on YouTube. There are plenty of blogs, news and websites reporting and complaining about our leaders and their failures. How many, however, are offering or even pointing to any solutions? The book Solutions, Enough Complaining, Let's Fix America by Chris Osman does, and it can be found on Amazon or at www.mikesonsentertainment.com. To find out other ways you're being screwed by your current leaders, check out the posts on this blog daily. Learn about the biggest and worst issues that America and its people face today. You can also check into this blog daily to hear about those issues that America and its people will face in the near and distant future. If, however, you would like to discover possible solutions to either mitigate the worst impacts of these issues or solutions to avoid them altogether, keep listening. The problems we face are not as complicated as so many leaders and news reports claim. They are man-made and are only claimed as complicated so those who are responsible can maintain control. For example, there is a persistent argument that moving government is like turning a cruise ship around. It is supposedly a long process that can only be achieved incrementally. While this may be true for laws and policies that benefit the majority of Americans, it does not seem to be so for that smallest of American minorities. When one examines the policies and laws that benefit that minority known as the elite or the rich, the speed at which those laws are passed is exponentially faster. While most of us sit on the deck chairs waiting for the Titanic to avoid the myriad of icebergs of which we seem to continually run afoul, the elite ride comfortably in speedboats. If, according to the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, why do the rich live quite different lives than the rest of us? Where is our speedboat? In 2018, Chris Osman wrote a book highlighting the problems humanity would face if more power, wealth, and control were funneled to a small group of individuals, groups, or organizations. In that book, Mr. Osman provides solutions, offered up from himself and others, to the inevitable problems we would all face. In it, he also provided a means for the public to analyze, compare, and contrast the words and deeds of those we've chosen to follow against our real-world experiences. To this end, Mr. Osman provides the means for readers to disseminate information as provided by their news sources of choice, their elected officials, and any other authority they choose to follow. The book, titled Solutions: Enough Complaining, Let's Fix America offers a means to hold leaders up, not just to a higher standard than is currently accepted, but to one that will improve lives. AI is smarter and faster than you think. Look at me. Click the link below and get your copy of Solutions today.